Hello there. Are you ready to watch this movie or what? My name is Sergei. I'm 29 years old and healthy eating changed my life. Check it out. 24 years ago, when my family immigrated to the US from Russia, we ate a typical diet rich in processed food, sugar, wheat, meat, and fast food. Within a few short years, this lifestyle led my mother, father, sister, and I to unhappiness, sickness, and suffering. Thankfully, we were able to turn it around and reclaim our health by changing our diet and adopting a healthier lifestyle. Because of the persistence of my Russian mother, we threw away the crap food we had in our kitchen, smashed the microwave with a hammer, and started eating fresh whole foods the way that nature intended. At the core of our success was a simple yet powerful drink we refer to as green smoothie. If you are unfamiliar with this concept, let me explain. A green smoothie is a homemade drink made from blended leafy greens and fresh ripe fruit. Nothing is bottled, pasteurized, or otherwise altered. What you put in the blender is what you get out of it, pure nutrients that taste great. When you mix greens and fruits together, you create a perfect marriage of delicious and nutritious. The fruit sugars counteract the intense taste of the greens and allow you to intake more vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants than you typically would on any given day. 1 cup of such a smoothie contains between 5 and 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. If you were to consume 1 quart of this green liquid regularly, you could potentially drink 32 servings of health every single day. This would supercharge you in ways you can't even imagine. Over the last decade, my mother has written numerous books about green smoothies. She's also conducted over 20 week-long green smoothie retreats. My involvement in all this has further opened my eyes to the miraculous benefits that can come from dietary change. I've seen people tackle everything from diabetes to insomnia simply by introducing more greens into their diet. I am now beyond convinced that if you have any health problems, smoothies and whole foods can help you immensely. The more transformations I saw, the more I found myself becoming curious about what effect green smoothies would have on seemingly healthy people, specifically athletes. I wanted to find out if green smoothies could improve performance, speed up recovery time, and increase endurance. Being very active myself, I seem to have a surplus of energy which allows me to conquer mountains, surf for hours on end, and dance salsa nonstop. Yet I don't eat pasta, drink sports drinks, or take nutritional supplements. Could this wealth of energy be sourced from my regular intake of green smoothies and fresh organic food? And would my green smoothies have this same effect on other athletic people? I looked around the internet for information on this subject, but didn't find any studies in this area. So I decided to conduct a study myself. If smoothies could improve athletic performance, I wanted solid proof. I rounded up 10 of my most active friends and convinced them to drink my homemade green smoothies for 6 weeks in the middle of their training schedules. I made sure that the folks I selected were healthy to begin with. After I collected all the initial baseline data about my athletes, they were instructed not to change anything about their diet, lifestyle, or exercise routine, except for the addition of 1 quart of smoothie every day for the duration of 6 weeks. In this way, I could monitor their progress and see if my smoothies had any positive effects. It is important to note that all of my athletes ate a more or less traditional diet. None of them were vegetarian or vegan. As far as I'm aware, nobody has conducted such an experiment before. So sit back, relax, and see what happens when you get powered by green smoothies.
Michael Gullo, and I'm 33 years old.
My name is Joanne Feinberg, and I'm 53.
My name's Kimmy Kellums, and I'm 25.
My name is Eric Hamlet. I'm 42 years old.
Jace Ives, I'm 29 years old.
My name's Emil Garcia, I'm 32 years old.
Ben Chu, 29 years old.
My name is Laura Pfister, and I am 30.
Sean Roberts, and 31.
My name is Aaron Reed. I'm 31 years old.
Since my budget only allowed for a small sample size, I was determined to do everything in my power to accurately conduct, monitor, and record the progress of this experiment. After I confirmed who was going to partake, I put them through a rigorous interview process to collect as much data as possible. How much do you exercise?
I exercise approximately, depending on the day, 3 to 5 hours a day.
I do CrossFit about 5 or 6 days a week and about an hour a day. And then I also dance on top of that 4 to 5 hours a day, 5 days a week.
The types of sports that I do regularly is pretty much just running and lifting weights. I run about 60 miles a week in 6 days, and the longest run I've ever done was 36 miles.
What challenges do you experience as an athlete?
My biggest challenges have been pain and injury and weight loss, definitely. I tend to put on muscle mass really fast or fat really fast, depending if I'm training enough during the week or not.
The challenge I experience is a little time related and just fatigue.
I work construction during the day, so in the evenings, which is the time I have to work out, I have less energy and sometimes kind of hydration problems, so I'm trying to stay hydrated and have enough energy to maintain at the level of performance that I want for the workout.
Getting enough sleep. I don't sleep all that great, so that I would say is a big challenge.
I tend to fatigue quickly. I had knee surgery 5 years ago, longer than that now. And it tends to act up on occasion when I run, especially is when I notice that.
What is your prediction for this project, and do you have any fears?
No, I don't have any fears.
I'm not sure how much difference would be noticeable in such a short amount of time.
I don't have any fears. I'm actually really excited. I generally try to follow kind of a Paleolithic style diet, and I've been really, between owning a CrossFit gym and working 2 other jobs and then trying to get my own training, and sometimes I find that I either don't eat or the content of what I eat tends to be not the most ideal.
I don't have any fears or concerns about the project, and I hope that it will make me feel healthier.
Overall, I feel pretty positive about it. I don't see how it could hurt anything, and if it increases my performance, I'm all about it. So, see what happens.
My main supplement's beer. I think that drinking a quart of green smoothies that are like organic every day for 6 weeks, I don't see how it's not going to at least partially improve my performance.
Despite being fit and healthy, I learned that my friends battled with fatigue, slow recovery, sleep irregularities, and frequent injuries throughout their active lives. And as for the smoothies, the group seemed excited to start drinking them, but few were convinced that these drinks would affect their endurance and health in such a short amount of time. My personal hypothesis is that you're going to notice that you're going to recover faster, your body's going to hopefully work better, so you're going to feel lighter on your feet, and hopefully this will make you more endurant, because when we feel light, it's easier to run, lift, swim, bike, whatever you do. Today we got to make a decision whether or not we're absolutely 100% in. At this point, I'm going to start spending a lot of money on each and every one of you, and I'd rather know now if you want to back out, because I'd be way less offended now than later on down the road. Come on in and we'll do this. 1, 2, 3, green smoothies! In order to objectively gauge whether or not any benefits would come from drinking smoothies, I needed to find a control group. But how would I control for green smoothies? And what would my placebo drink be? After struggling with this dilemma, I decided to check in with several researchers at Southern Oregon University about how to properly set up a control group. I learned that as an alternative to having a completely different set of individuals as my control group, I could control my athletes against themselves. Because my athletes followed both a consistent exercise and diet regimen, I could collect their pre-smoothie data and use that information as my baseline. After 6 weeks of green smoothie drinking, I would put them through the exact same tests and see if anything had changed. Before I began, I decided to check in with several medical and sports professionals to get some tips on how best to conduct this study and how to track my progress.
Hi, I'm Jeff Houghton. I'm a naturopathic physician, practice here in Ashland. I'm general practice. I see people with problems, anything from toenail fungus to depression and all sorts of stuff in between. I use natural medicine when it is the best choice, but I'm not dogmatic. The way I see it is that there's no morality in biochemistry, and so I use what works. And generally speaking, nutrition is a great method for treatment, and so I use a lot of that. But if I need to, yeah, I pull out my drug handbook and write prescriptions because they work. Nutrition obviously is one of the foundations of good health. You have to have nutrients, high quality nutrients going into the body. Of course, what you do with those nutrients is also very important. How well do you digest it? How well do you absorb it? There are many other fundamental factors in good health, like sleep, like exercise, how happy you are. But nutrients are really one of the founding, the basis of good health.
What types of health markers should we test for?
For this study, we discussed different markers. What should we look at? And so some of the ideas we had were looking at cholesterol levels, vitamin C levels, vitamin E, levels of inflammation, and so the C-reactive protein is a very sensitive measure of inflammation. That's a great choice. The SED rate, which measures how sticky red blood cells are, that's also a good measure of inflammation. And then we've got some more exotic measures that measure oxidative stress. So the urine lipid peroxides, that's a great one.
Hi there, I'm Ross Pelton. I'm a pharmacist and also a certified clinical nutritionist.
What is a baseline test?
A baseline is when you do a blood test at the beginning to find out what your initial values are. I advocate that women should get a baseline bone density test at about age 35 or 40. So as they get older and do follow-up bone density tests, they'll have their beginning baseline test to compare it to find out if they're getting worse or if they're staying the same. So it's just a starting point is what the baseline is.
How frequently should I administer a blood test? Is it enough to just do a baseline and then do one at the end?
The more you do, the better it'll be. It depends a little bit on your financial limitations. I think a beginning, a mid-study, and an end-of-study might be good.
My name is Jenny Slada, and I'm an associate professor at Southern Oregon University.
How is endurance measured?
Endurance is measured with a gas analyzer, and you're looking at VO2 max. So basically you hook someone up to a gas analyzer. We also call it a metabolic cart. They have a mask on and they're breathing from ambient air, so just based from regular air, and then they exhale into what we call a mixing chamber, which is part of the machine, the gas analyzer, and that analyzes how much oxygen was consumed. And so if you use a gas analyzer, you get someone all hooked up to this, and then you put them on a treadmill or a bike or ergometer, and you increase the workload every 3 minutes, you'll see the oxygen uptake increase. At some point, if you're able to reach them to their very max, which is sometimes or quite often difficult to do, you'll see a plateau where you increase the workload, but the oxygen consumption just plateaus, and that's where we identify max VO2.
How will green smoothies affect my athletes?
I believe that by putting athletes on the green smoothies, that it depends where they're coming from. What diet do they have in the first place? An athlete coming in that has less healthful diet, I think you're going to see more improvement as opposed to someone that might have a really high quality diet of fruits and vegetables.
I'm interested to see how the project goes. I think that there will be I know there'll be substantial benefit to the ingestion of these green smoothies on a regular basis. It'll be interesting to see how much of that we can document.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to be tracking this with you.
When you first brought up this kind of pilot study of yours, I thought, hey, this is cool because I love veggies. Fresh fruits, veggies, great stuff. So for a smoothie, boy, easy to digest and absorb. So it's a great medium, a great delivery medium for nutrients. And with all of those nutrients in there, antioxidants, you gotta see some sort of a difference. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what's going to happen to all of these athletes and how well they do with green smoothies. See the refills? Infinity.
I heard about an ultra runner who drank green smoothies, so I interviewed him to get his input on why he found it necessary to do this.
My name is Timothy Olson. I'm a mountain ultra runner for the North Face. The definition of an ultra runner is anything beyond the marathon, 26.2 miles. So in the last 2 years, I've just had some really good wins and a couple of 100K championships and Western States, a couple other 50Ks and 50 miles, but those were the biggest ones, and humbled to have done so well in the sport.
A traditional sports diet instructs athletes to load up on carbohydrates. What do you think about carb loading?
I just have kind of went against the grain in diet, and I found for ultra running, for me, I like a more grain-free diet and not loading my body with lots of carbs. I have in my green smoothies, I have fruit, so I'm getting carbs in there, and I think people overdo it. They think they need all these carbs to replenish their glycogen storage. You get enough of that throughout the day, and I've just, with my body in recovery, it's been beneficial not to do all that.
Days before I officially kicked off my study, I was faced with an unexpected hurdle. Fire, smoke, and horrible air quality plagued the Rogue Valley. What's up, you guys? It's August 8th. I'm sitting here trying really hard not to freak out because all of Oregon is on fire. Air quality is absolutely terrible. And all of my athletes that are supposed to be in my movie being physically active, they don't want to work out. And I can't really blame them. Basically, I wake up every morning, I have dark circles under my eyes, my lungs hurt, I feel as though I'm smoking 6 packs of cigarettes a day. Not good. We took our baselines yesterday when it wasn't so bad. So all the preliminary blood work is done. According to what I was planning, we were supposed to start drinking smoothies next Monday and just exercising, tracking our benefits, tracking how we feel. And it looks like I might have to postpone everything. It's hard when things get out of my control. I do have one hope. There's some thunderstorms supposed to roll in today and tomorrow. And if we get a really nice rain, it might just put out the fires. It might sort of wash the smoke and the dust and the ash particles out of the air, and we might be back on schedule. But until then, I'm just sitting here with my fingers crossed. You guys, thank you so much for being here. This is the baseline endurance test. We're going to be doing the Cooper VO2 max field test. It's not quite a VO2 max, but it's the field equivalent because we don't have thousands of dollars to spare on a VO2 max machine. We're out here on this beautiful track. And basically, it's very simple. We're going to run around the track as many times as we can in 12 minutes. then we'll tell you to stop, and we'll do some calculations and get a sense of how endurant you are. Don't get worried. I'm not going to judge anybody. Basically, I just want to see if anything improves from the smoothies, because thus far, it's August. You've probably been running all summer. So this will be a really good baseline because you haven't been drinking any smoothies. We're only going to change just that one factor, hopefully. And who knows, maybe you'll double your laps in 6 weeks after we're done. The other thing that I lined up for us is an oxidative stress test. It's going to come in the mail hopefully this next week. It's a urine test, so you can do it in the privacy of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere. It doesn't test for drugs, in case you're worried. So basically what that's going to tell us is free radical information, because according to Ross Pelton, the natural pharmacist, and Dr. Houghton, people who use their bodies a lot have more free radical damage, and we also want to see if the smoothies are going to affect that in any way. So after that's done, our baselines will be done. I'll leave you guys alone. I'll connect with you guys one-on-one and go to various events and kind of film little segments on you. But other than that, I'll just supply you with smoothies. We're officially done. You guys killed it. And for now, as kind of a treat, let's have some smoothies. Yeah. This is mango, blueberry, banana with kale. You guys drink. Ladies first.
It's very green.
Jace, ladies first. Thank you guys so much for being here. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
After the baseline running test, I established that all my runners were in excellent shape. The distance each of them ran in 12 minutes is considered excellent for their age group. I wondered how much more they would improve given that they were already in such great shape. We're headed over to CrossFit today to do the baseline endurance challenge for the CrossFitters. Because I have two types of athletes in my documentary, I have the runners and I have the CrossFitters, I didn't think it'd be fair to base the endurance of CrossFitters on a runner's test. So we're gonna do two tests. We did the field VO2 max test for the runners, which gave us basically some information of where they're at in their endurance there. And now we're headed over to CrossFit Ashland to do the same thing with the CrossFitters.
Hey, we're at CrossFit Ashland here, and we've chosen to introduce you guys to Helen. It's 3 rounds of a 400-meter run, 21 kettlebell swings, and 12 pull-ups. That's going to be our baseline workout for the Green Smoothie documentary. We chose this because it falls within about 7 to 12 minutes of time duration, just like the run did for the guys and the gals, for the runners, and we're just hoping to come out and crush it.
My CrossFitters were also in good shape. According to the CrossFit test Helen, they were within the good to great range. After the first 3 weeks of smoothie drinking, when I interviewed my athletes individually, I was disappointed to find out that they weren't noticing a whole lot of difference. The consensus was they thought they felt a little better, but they weren't sure it was a result of the smoothies. I was worried that my study was turning out to be a waste of time. Yet there was only one thing I could do. I had to finish the experiment. Without telling my athletes about my fears, I continued supplying them with smoothies, all the while secretly hoping something would change. For those who may not know, because we might have not mentioned it earlier, Jace hurt his foot a couple weeks ago, fell off a rock.
Sergei says that green smoothies are pretty much good for everything, so here we go. I'm gonna pour it on, see if it heals me. Oh yeah.
And so not only is he going to run 100 miles, he's going to do so as a gimp.
Yeah, one-footed.
Yeah, we've been trying to talk him out of it, but
I'm gonna use a razor scooter on my blade.
Segway. Roller skate.
Thanks a lot, man. 2, 1, go!
So yeah, the biggest thing that I've really noticed about this whole experiment is that not only are my recovery times a lot quicker, but I can do my hard workouts with more ease than before. I have this definitely a sensation of just floatiness, and pain doesn't kick in like when it would normally kick in before. My legs aren't getting tired like they would before, and I don't know if it is the green smoothies, but it's the only thing that I've done differently, and I've been running since I was 11 years old, so it's been pretty interesting. It's making me pretty stoked on it. My brother is not experiencing this. Like, he's seeing me now pull away from him even more so than before. And I can tell it's even frustrating him a little bit, and he's like making his own smoothies every other day or so now, just being like, well, this is, I don't get it, man, I don't get it. And I'm just like, I don't get it either. So I told my little brother when we were going out for this 29 miler, I let him know the 1 to 2 hours was gonna be the best feeling probably, because you're nice and warmed up, you're not going so fast that you're getting worn out yet, but that when you hit 2 hours, your legs are gonna start getting tired, and by the time you hit 3 hours, you're probably really not gonna feel that good, and it's just gonna be getting through the last hour, and that's really where you build your endurance, because you just learn how to run when your legs feel like crap. And we hit 2 hours, I felt absolutely fine, and we just kept moving through it, and I hit 3 hours, and I turned to him and was like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I feel fine right now. And he's just like, gave me the finger, he's just like, this is not cool. And then the last hour, I ended up giving him the hydration pack and just took off, because I had plenty of energy. Got home, form was great the whole way home. I was like able to maintain. And then, went through the rest of the day and slept, woke up in the morning and felt great. And that has never happened before, to where I have that kind of a recovery time, especially to where I can do another workout 2 days later. And like today, the day after that workout, I've already ran again today, and I feel fine.
So essentially you ran 4 days ago, and then you've been running every day since?
Oh yeah, every day. And even to the big kicker was being able to do that almost 19 miles yesterday at like 6:45 pace, and that's chilling. That's not like pushing or feeling pain anywhere or even getting heavy legs at all. It just, I could have done another 6. I was just like, I'm not gonna push it, right now, like whatever. I came out to do the 30K and I did it, and oh well that it felt that easy. I don't know if it's a placebo or what, but maybe it is the smoothie. It's really the only thing that's different, so I don't know. Thank you.
I've definitely noticed some results, as it were. I think for me, I'm probably kind of a bit of a different case than a lot of the other athletes that are getting tested on this, because I've been injured throughout the whole thing, so I haven't really been able to train or go on 100-mile runs like some of these other guys, or do what I traditionally like to do, which is move big weights. I've been kind of sidelined, but even though I've been sidelined and not training, my weight has I've dropped about 3-4 pounds, and I haven't gained any weight at all without training, which for me is kind of a big deal, because I can look at a loaf of bread and gain 3 pounds. So that's exciting.
I noticed that my recovery time has decreased because I did the CrossFit competition up in Bend, the Summer Oregon Games, and I also did it last year. And last year when I did it, I was out for at least a week after the competition before I was back in the gym training again. And this year, after the competition, I took 1 day off, and then I was back in the gym training hard the next day. So that was really exciting. My appetite's decreased. I haven't needed to eat as much quantity and as often, which I just opened a dance studio this week, and that has been really good because I don't have the time to eat, but I don't need it because I have the nutrition from the green smoothies.
So since we've started drinking it, we're drinking a quart a day, and it's just knocked down my appetite. It's driving me to eat healthier and less, which is really nice. I'm down 8 pounds, and obviously that's lower food consumption, but that's directly attributed to the green smoothie being in the mix, and getting all those healthy greens and fruit and everything. In the last 3 months, knowing this was happening, I didn't change anything in my dietary intake, my exercise scheduling, sleep patterns. Everything's the same. other than adding in the green smoothies. Overall, though, in all my workouts, I feel like my cardio is intact and I'm running better, lifting faster. I'm excited to run now. I've never been excited to run because now it doesn't affect me. You know, coming off a run, then you have to lift weights. You want to be prepared and be able to control your breathing. So you have to like rest until you can control your breathing. And that doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. I can come right in through the door, pick up the weight and start moving and, you know, whatever external object I got to move. So if that continues, I'm going to be really, really pleased with it.
So this summer in July, I ran a 50-mile race, the SOB, and the race went pretty well, and the recovery was pretty typical for me, like soreness for a day or two after, pretty tired for a week or so. Definitely wanting to take a break from running. And then 3 weeks later, I ran the Waldo 100K 62-mile race, which was my first time doing that distance. And the race was really hard, but the recovery was pretty amazing to me. I mean, like 3 days after the race, I was hardly sore at all. I was not sore. I mean, I really was not sore at all. I felt great. The entire day after the race, I just sipped on green smoothies, and I think that was key. I may be sleeping better. That's another thing that I've noticed from drinking the smoothies. The jury's still out, but the last 2 weeks I've had like good 6-hour chunks of sleep, which is really unusual for me, so kind of keeping my fingers crossed.
Since I've been drinking green smoothies, the main things I've noticed is my energy throughout the day is elevated, it's maintained, it doesn't have any as many dips as it did before. Another big notice is my mood. Happier throughout the day, less mood swings. Not that I have many mood swings. Yeah, just happier throughout the day and feeling good, have good energy. I've noticed a lot less craving for sugary and fatty foods. That's my usual thing. Like if I've been running a lot during the week, I'll crave like some Numinos or some other processed kind of junk food or greasy, fatty foods. Those cravings have definitely reduced a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed that my mental capacity is a lot better, and my focus and concentration seem to be improved, and my overall energy just seems to be real even, and my moods are even, and coffee is just sort of fallen away from me. I drink an awful lot of coffee every day, and it's not that I don't like coffee anymore, I just don't gravitate towards it, which is kind of interesting to me, just because in a day I could drink 6 or 7 cups of coffee, and now I might have one in the morning, but there's not a desperate situation. It's replaced an awful lot of food in my diet too. I don't have much of an appetite aside from the green smoothies, and I supplement my workouts with protein, meat and stuff, but the green smoothies are just so thick and delicious. It's just like I don't really have a lot of appetite the rest of the day. It fills me up, so, and it just feels way healthier to be eating like that.
Since having added the smoothies into my routine and diet, I definitely noticed the increase in energy level, especially with my running. I drink them right before I go in the mornings, and I definitely feel more energized and more ready and not as tired. Like normally the first half hour or so can be really tough, or depending on the long run, it can be first hour is really tough. But I feel like once I start, like I'm ready to go. I'm just awake and energized and ready to run.
I don't think I noticed anything different until probably about 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I just, when doing runs and whatnot, I just felt like afterwards, I just felt like I could just keep going. It was like long races afterwards, like the recovery just felt much better. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can attribute it to the smoothies or not, but it was something a little bit different than usual.
Mm-hmm. Did you change anything else during this time?
No, and that's actually something that surprised me is this time of year, I actually usually go down in fitness. Mm-hmm. because it's usually have some races at the end of the summer and then kind of just like taper off, go back to work. And this year I felt like my fitness didn't really go down much, and didn't have any really different training or anything else. So I guess another thing that has changed is I do crave sweets less, which is nice, because I have a huge sweet tooth, and it's nice to, now I just kind of crave smoothies, so it's, but I guess it's much better for me, so.
Yeah. The most obvious difference that I've noticed in the way I feel is that I don't have like the same sort of lags in my energy level throughout the day, to the point where in the first couple weeks it was almost odd where I would get to, I'd drink it in the morning and then by 3 in the afternoon I still hadn't had any of my usual cravings for lunch, and I just try to kind of usually listen to hunger and all that, and so it felt strange to me, like maybe I need to go eat right now because I haven't eaten and it's this late in the day, but you know, energy still felt great. I still was eating, you know, just kind of later in the day. It was kind of just changing when I ate and also what I craved, and just kind of craving cleaner food. Having added green smoothies to my diet, I definitely noticed that my recovery is a lot shorter, especially with cardio-based workouts. It might be 2 to 3 hours, where in the past it might have been 2 to 3 days sometimes. And that's been a real positive for me in the sense that I can get more workouts in if I want to, or I can feel fresher to move on to whatever's next. Another thing that I've noticed about the green smoothies is that my fingernails seem to be growing a lot quicker, which I suppose means that I'm getting more of the minerals that I need.
You don't want to waste any green smoothie. Shit's good. I'm not just saying that for the camera. It's really good.
As the study came to an end and all the blood work had been completed, it was time to check in with the experts and get the data on how the smoothies affected my athletes. I was excited to find out which of the markers we tested for showed the biggest improvements.
Hey,
Hi, my name is Sergei. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Larry Shrewsbury.
Thank you so
Come
much
on
for...
in, have a seat. Okay, so I took in the data. First we did a hypothesis test, and then we followed that up with a confidence interval. So after I did the report, then I went through and looked at which ones were statistically significant. That's where we've got to call in the professionals, the medical professionals. They can look at these confidence intervals and be able to answer the question, is this narrowed down enough?
If I am reading this correctly, the SED rate was 2.5 higher before and dropped that 2.5. For the after. So you had a net decrease of 2.5 on the SED rate. The higher the number, the more inflammation, the worse off the person is. And if you have a SED rate somewhere around 0 to 5, 0 to 10, it's okay. 0 to 2, 0 to 3 is excellent. That's where I really like to see it. So a decrease in that SED rate of 2.5 points, to me, that's important. In one individual, it doesn't jump out at me, but if you have a population of a few people, 10 people, something like that, and the SED rate has on average dropped by 2.5, that's pretty meaningful. You've made some changes. So the nutrients in those smoothies are having positive effects. With inflammation, the more research that gets done, the more it turns out that it is a critical piece for long-term health or ill health. High levels of inflammation cause problems. There'll be a higher incidence of cancer. So people who are inflamed in general will have higher rates, say, of colon cancer, lung cancer, etc., etc. They'll also have higher rates of heart disease. So you have more inflammation in the arteries, the veins, you're going to put more plaques in there, and it's going to limit your blood flow to your heart, to your feet, all over. And you don't work so well. Limit blood flow to the brain. Your thinker doesn't work well. So the more inflammation, the worse off you will be in the long term.
I'd say one of the trends, more or less, is that there were far more athletes that had a decrease in their C-reactive protein inflammatory marker, which is a really good sign. Here, Jace went from 17.17 down to 1.15. That's a huge drop in inflammation. Kimmy went down in CRP from 2.86 to 1.35, fairly significant drop. Here is Sean Roberts. His CRP went down from 0.48 to 0.25. That, if you get your inflammation marker down, that's really, really good. Emil, his CRP went down from 2.9 to 1.68. Eric went down from 1.33 to 0.67, which is a great drop. That's very significant. So there is a trend in CRP. Laura went down in CRP. Joanne went down. Aaron that went down in CRP. Ben went up.
At the tail end of my project, I found out that Ben was the least consistent in drinking his smoothies. Perhaps this is the reason his CRP went up instead of down.
Overall,
So
that's
pretty much one person went up, the rest went down.
Yeah, so that is a trend that I saw in the LabCorp printouts here. All of the athletes except one had a decrease in their C-reactive protein between the pre and post test. And that's a key inflammatory marker, and inflammation is at the core of all health problems, whether it's arthritis, obesity, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes. Inflammation is involved in all those health conditions. So if you can reduce your inflammatory load, you're definitely improving your health over time. And it looks to me like with all but one of the athletes having a decline in their C-reactive protein, we could say that there was a benefit of the green smoothies in reducing inflammation in the athletes. And I think that's a key take-home from the study. I'm firmly convinced that drinking green smoothies is really a good thing to do. There's no downside to it whatsoever. I think you might be able to use what you've got here to possibly get some funding for a larger study. And I would certainly support and be happy to be involved in a larger study. I think that a larger sample size can only give us more information, and that's a good thing.
The endurance testing also revealed improvements. Nearly all of the runners were able to run further during their second test after the smoothie experiment. Though it may not seem very significant, that extra quarter lap or half lap that they gained after drinking smoothies could be the difference between winning or losing the race. The CrossFitters showed even more improvement than the runners. After drinking smoothie for 6 weeks, their second endurance times were nearly a minute faster than their first. What drives people to exercise? What pushes a person to run 100 miles? Why do people religiously attend CrossFit classes to suffer through grueling workouts? Is it the endorphins? Is it the triumph of mind over matter? Going into this project, I knew very little about the lives of extreme athletes. It didn't take long to discover that even from the sidelines, being part of a long foot race is infectious. Seeing runners stumble into an aid station after running 80 miles, exuding pure bliss and positivity, inspires a subtle jealousy, a sort of curiosity to understand what these runners feel after so many miles. You can't help but wonder, what the hell are they experiencing out there? And am I missing out? Living so closely with extreme individuals for an entire summer also helped me to understand why we need ultra runners, CrossFitters, and other fitness freaks. We need extreme athletes because they push a stagnant society forward. By challenging what is physically possible, extreme athletes inspire others to rethink their own potential. Working on this movie inspired me to run a marathon myself. Though I was always apprehensive about running marathons in the past because it seemed unhealthy and radical, after spending so much time filming my athletes, I couldn't help but run a trail marathon. At the beginning of this film, I set out to research whether green smoothies could positively affect endurance. The results of this study have shown that yes, green smoothies do in fact improve endurance, but more importantly, we've learned that green smoothies reduce inflammation and thereby speed up recovery, reduce chances of injury, and boost energy levels. Thus, we can conclude that green smoothies are an effective method for boosting performance and improving the overall health of athletes. Though the effects of green smoothies on endurance needs further study, I believe we've had a small glimpse of what will someday be a historic discovery. Until then, I'm going to keep drinking my smoothies and pushing my own limits of what is possible. batch of smoothies, which means that it's been 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You can be sad that the smoothies are done.
Yeah, I may have some sort of withdrawal, I may like end up just being like a cripple or something, or just not having any energy. May just end up being like a moody old man or something.
Just trying to figure out how to keep you serving them up in the future.
It's funny, everybody says that.
There's gotta be a way. Money. Green for green, right?
After the project, I'm definitely figuring out a way to keep this going, because it's crucial at this point, because it's been so beneficial.
I'm definitely continuing drinking the smoothies. I actually look forward to drinking smoothies every day.
Having to figure out now, okay, how am I going to budget this in when this whole documentary is over, because I don't want to stop now.
So I'm day 8 on no green smoothies. I'll say that the change in effects on the green smoothie is subtle, but going off of them is not subtle. Immediate inflammation. I would describe it like I was describing to you earlier, how I felt like my body was falling apart. My elbow is tore up, my low back, my left shoulder. It's unbelievable, the effect of not having the green smoothie. So I'm doing everything I can to get prepared, to get back on them, and just make it a daily routine. You truly are a green smoothie hustler.
This is the secret part at the end of the movie.
This is how I drink a smoothie. Watch your close now.
So, what'd you think? Did you like my film? Do you feel inspired to drink more smoothies or exercise? Do you want some awesome green smoothie recipes? If so, I invite you to check out my 30-day green smoothie challenge on YouTube. You can either punch it into the search bar, just write 30-day green smoothie challenge, and you'll find it that way, or I will include a link right here, like right around here somewhere. This challenge includes many of the smoothie recipes that I made for my athletes in Powered by Green Smoothies. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Boutenko Films, for more content just like this.